This month I was supposed to finish my bathroom and failed, but I did get punched in the face, so let's talk about that instead. So you remember the other month when I recorded my podcast, and then just after it came out, ended up going to hospital? Well, it kind of happened again. We were supposed to be working that day, but it was the half term, so my wife's niece was off school, and because of that, we went to a rock climbing place, and I was like so tired, and I also realised I just don't like it. I used to be pretty good at rock climbing, and for one it's been a while, but for another I just don't actually like being high up. I don't like abseiling down afterwards, and I don't like being high up. I'm just not comfortable with it. I don't mind the actual act of climbing. I think I would prefer the bouldering stuff, because that's more like horizontal climbing, so that's more appealing to me, because you're not really all that high off the floor, but you're still doing all the climbing stuff, so that just sounds better. So if I got a chance, I'd probably go back and do that instead. So we were there for like an hour or so. I think we went and got food on the way home, and then we decided that my wife and I were going to go out into town, and it was really hot, so we figured we'd go get a coffee first. Okay, I realised I've just said we'll go to town. When I say we'll go to town, I mean the city. We walked down into town to get a coffee before we went to the city. It's just that everyone calls Manchester town. It's just normal around here. But I realised that if I've also said we walked into town before going to town, no one would know what I meant. So we walked into town, got a coffee, and went and got on the bus into Manchester. We got on the bus, and I don't know if any of you have seen UK buses. I assume you have at some point, but they've got 2 floors, most of them. There was no seats downstairs, so we walked upstairs, and the second we got upstairs, some guy started shouting, and he just started shouting at me, because I was wearing my mask, and he just started like calling me names and whatever. And like this happens to me sometimes, and usually it's just a bit of an argument, and then it stops. So we sat down and like tried ignoring him at first, and he just kept going on. Said I started arguing with him, and like he kept trying to get me to fight him, and he kept calling me names, and he kept calling me a traitor to the country, which I don't really get. Like, I don't know what the fuck he was talking about. But yeah, so he kept like calling me names, he kept trying to get me to fight him, and I told him I wasn't going to fight him, and then he went on to more, and he called me some more names, and I told him to kill himself, and then he called me some more names, and then he kept threatening that he was going to beat me up and he was going to kill me and stuff, and then he threatened my wife, and then I stood up, and then the next thing I remember is my mask was wet, and the guy was getting off the bus. That kind of makes it sound like I got knocked out or something, but I don't mean that. I mean, literally, I stood up, the guy got up and hit me in the face, and walked off the bus. And when I say the next thing I remember is my mask was wet, is I didn't feel getting hit. The only way I realised I had been hit is because the inside of my mask was wet, and that was when I realised I was bleeding. So like, I was just like stood there, and the guy punched me in the face, and I just carried on talking. I just like carried on shouting, and didn't realise until he was getting off the bus that something was actually wrong with me. So I realised like then I was bleeding. I wasn't even sure at first. It felt wet, but I wasn't sure why. So I ended up taking my mask off, and there was a girl sat in front of us on the bus, and she just told me I was bleeding. So I was like, oh, okay. So all the people threw him off the bus. We stayed on the bus, and everyone else had to get off. And then he got arrested. And all of the time, like, people were talking to us about how, like, the guy had been being a dick to, like, everyone on the bus before we'd got on. He was being, like, a racist to the driver and stuff. Because the driver was, like, an Asian guy, and he just got on the bus going on about how he was, like, white British, and he was taking the country back, and it was like, no one gives a shit. The driver was just like, I don't care, just get on the bus. Then he went upstairs and started shouting at... I mentioned that the girl told me I was bleeding, he started shouting at her, and then he dropped it, and then he started on me. It just happens to be that I get angry very quickly, so apparently shouting at me wasn't a good idea for either of us. But yeah, like I was saying, that it didn't hurt at all. The most pain I had from... It does seem like I got my nose broken. It does seem like my nose broke, because it now makes like a clicking noise. But the most pain I had from it was I got a cut on my nose like the day after, and if I like moved my nose, the cut would rub, and that was kind of painful. But there was so little pain from getting punched in the face. I was just surprised by how little it hurt. And I was just like, carried on with my day. I was just like, yeah, this is fine. Like, I'm not really all that bothered. My wife was like crying. She was like in hysterics. Most of the people on the bus were pretty nice about it. There was one girl who was like, oh, I don't see why I should have to get off the bus because other people had an argument. And I was like, well, the bus isn't fucking going anywhere, so you may as well. You can sit here if you want, but the bus isn't driving anywhere else now. Some security guards got on at first, and they talked to us for a little bit, and then they kind of went away, and then a police officer got on, and she talked to us for a bit, and then she drove us home, and then she interviewed me for a bit, and I basically just told her what I'd already told you. She left, and we ended up having to go to hospital, because, like, I felt fine, really. Honestly, the worst of it was I had a bit of a headache, so they gave me a quick check over at the hospital. I was only there for like an hour, maybe, but they said I was fine. They said there's not really anything they can do for a broken nose anyway, but they weren't too worried about it because like I didn't seem to have any breathing issues. And that was about it. They were worried that I might get a concussion, but it didn't seem like it. And we ended up just walking home. It was a nice day. It's a long walk. Took us about an hour and a half to walk back. But we stopped off and got, I don't know what you call them, like ice pops? Like the frozen liquid in a tube, and then you just eat it. I get the Coke flavour ones because I like those. But yeah, that was like literally it. It was just a waste of a day, but besides that, it was surprisingly not that bad. I've said that like I was always kind of worried how I'd react to getting hit, because I've been in fights before, but I'd never got hit in any of them, especially not in the face. Like I've been like hit in other places or whatever, but generally like at school I was never really bullied or anything, or if I was, it was just like people calling me names or whatever, and I'd always just stood up for myself anyway in that sort of regard. Like I was never particularly like a target for stuff, and generally if it got too bad we'd have a fight and I would usually win, mostly because like I just choose situations where I don't think I'm going to lose. I tend to not fight people if I think I'm going to lose. But what I'm saying is I've always worried how I would deal with being like punched in the face. Like what if I like just froze and like didn't deal with it, or like panicked or whatever. But no, apparently I'll just carry on. So a bit less worried about that in the future. But yeah, so he got arrested, and then a bit after we got back from the hospital, a different police officer came around and she had to speak to me because she needs to know what I'd said at the hospital, because it changed what they could charge him with. So did that. Guy got charged. We're going to go to court at some point, and that's about it. Like, don't know when it's going to be. Don't know how long it's going to take. But that happened like the Saturday after my podcast came out. Everything happens just after my podcast. For the channels, Judgment finished. I did as many side quests as I could, but it would have taken just way longer to unlock the rest of them. At least another few episodes to unlock them, and then even more episodes to actually do them. So I just ended up finishing the game. I want to see them. I wish I had seen them, but I just don't really like the structure of how you unlock them. I'm hoping that Lost Judgment is an improvement on that. I don't know. I could probably look it up, but I haven't done. I really just think that doing cases should increase your reputation as well as making friends with people, because that way you're always like making progress to unlocking the next quests. It feels weird that you don't earn reputation as a private investigator by doing cases. You only earn it by making friends. You can make loads of friends, but you could be a bad detective. Proving you're a good detective should get you reputation. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. So with that finished, my next LP is going to start on Wednesday now. If you look at the release order of Yakuza games, you already know what that is. With RuneScape, the leagues ended, which has freed up a huge amount of time. There is a compilation coming for that, of like every task, but I don't know how long it's going to take me to do. I wanted to get it out for last Friday. There's a slight chance I got it out at the same time as this podcast, but I don't think I will have. I'm recording this like obviously a few days earlier just to give me time to edit it, but I don't think I'm going to edit this and edit that in time, and this is more important. I'm also thinking about making a few changes to the compilation. It was originally just going to be a compilation of all 603 tasks, and now I'm thinking instead of 603 tasks, I'm going to do a compilation of all of the tasks and all of the video stuff that I've already had, like all the unlocks and stuff, which will actually just make it even longer. So that's a little annoying, but like I've currently edited 150 of the tasks, and the video's close to an hour long, and there's 600 tasks, but that's without all of the talking bits. The talking bits in total are 2.5 hours, so it's going to be like 2.5 hours plus 4 hours, so it's going to be like nearly 6 hours long if I do that. I feel like it'd be nice to have it all together, but at the same time, it would also be kind of cool to just have it as all the tasks, so I'm not really sure which I want to do. I'm leaning more towards having it be a complete story, but yeah. That isn't going to be next month's video though. That's just going to be a thing that comes out when it's ready, just because I think 4 months of RuneScape videos that no one watches is a bit much. I've got a really big project coming up, which will probably end up being an August's video just because of A, when I'm doing it, and B, how long it's going to take to both do and record and edit it. So I've got like a tiny little craft project that I'm going to do for next month's video, probably. And I think other than that, everything's just going to carry on as normal. Special thanks to all of my patrons. You can join them over at patreon.com/Holden Gatsby, and for $1 a month you'll get to see what I'm working on early, wallpapers for all my LPs, exclusive roles in my Discord, and any other rewards I might think of. You can also just follow me there if you want to for free, as it's probably the best place to see all of my content as soon as it's available. There's links to the Patreon, along with my Discord, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Twitch, and all the other podcast platforms in the description for this episode. Finally, don't forget you can email me using podencastby@gmail.com if you've got anything you want to say. Thanks for sticking around. Bye. Special thanks to my patrons, Justin Wood and Koopy Vegeta. Take your place in the free market over at patreon.com/Holden Gatsby. Check out my Instagram, TikTok and Twitter at Holden Gatsby, and follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Holden Gatsby. Don't forget to subscribe to all of my channels. If you want more, you can watch my last video now, but if not, then thanks for sticking around. Bye.